So I'm just gonna go over. If you've never done this before, no worry. It's super simple, and just relax. It's not rocket scientist. So we're gonna start with the basic housekeeping. So if you can switch your camera to this to the phone camera. Thank you. So we're gonna have the basic stuff. You just need needle, right? And then these are the color thread, and these are just basic thread that I'm using. You can use embroidery thread if you want, but I'm just using these type of thread because, well, they're inexpensive and you can buy a whole roll of them. I have pin, right? So to pin down your patches, or you can use safety pin. You need a pencil or pen or color pencil and or chalk, or what you call these things? Chalk to color chalk. Of course, a pair of scissors. I have multiple ones just to cut the thread. You don't really need that. And of course, a ruler. I use this because I will be doing what do you call this thing? Flyer. Anyway, you don't really need it. I'm just using it to pull the needle because I'm mending a very thick piece of fabric of denim, so it just help easier. But you do not necessarily need them. And of course, we have a needle, and you have this thing. Sometimes they come with a needle package, and you just thread it through the needle hole, and then you can put multiple thread through here, like we did here. So we have 6 thread in one needle. So I will show you how to do that right now. Okay. So so I damaged this dress shirt with an iron. So what I do is I make a Sashiko stitch on top of it, right? So you can see it become a different shirt, and you can see this jacket here next to me. Take it off. Okay. Yeah. So this is a lot of patchwork, and you can see I did a stitching here. So of course, later on in the class, you can also ask me to show any of this again. I'm just going through it quickly so you know the thing that you can do with the basic stitching that I'm showing you. And the basic stitching that you can do like a layer here that I created a cat. So I draw the cat and then I just stitch on top of them. So, and then all these here as well. It's done by the same type of stitch. And of course, this is the Mending pair of jeans. If you look closely here, right? So there are many possibilities. And this is just a simple thing that you can do. So these are the different type of stitching that we do. So this is a freehand, so it's a circular thing. And of course, this is a straight stitch. So I'm gonna show, this is what we'll be working on today, okay? And if you are adventurous, your piece will look something like this. So it have hundred of little stitches on them. Okay, so this is the pair of jeans, at least 30-year-old. Yep. All right, so we're gonna start with the basic, how to thread your needle, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna use, I just have to pick a color. So I'm gonna use a pink, actually I'm gonna use a gold color. So you can actually see a little bit better. And what I'm gonna do it because we have to do 6 layers, right? So the distance here is basically about an arm length. And I'm gonna do 3 of that. So 3 arm lengths, so 1 arm length, cord it, 2 arm length, meet it again, and then 3 arm length. Okay, so the thread that you're doing is have 3 layers of the arm length. So I'm gonna cut it. And can you switch the camera to the close-up, please? Thank you. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pass it through a needle. I'm cheating with the pre-thread, but if you find it difficult, you just wet it a little bit, the tip of your head, and you pass it through the needle hole, and that take a little while. But I'm cheating, so I'm just using this here. I'm put it through.
Get it closer.
Yeah, it's close. Here. Yeah,
Awesome.
and then I just poured it. So I have 3 layers, right? Everybody okay? And now what I'm gonna do is line up the base together so there are 6 layers of thread. And I'm gonna tie a knot. Okay, so I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna take the thread, curve it around your hand. You want to do, and then tie it a knot. So you have a little knot at the end. Oh. Now, missing one thing. Can you go under the bar right here? Have a little tea light. Get me one of the tea light. The other side, under the where the alcohol is.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, to get me any tea light, good. So what I'm gonna do is,
Like this?
Yeah. So because the thread, we have a lot of thread here. So when it passes through the fabric, it may get bundled up, right? So I'm using a candle. Here, I'm just taking a tea light. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna pass the thread through the candle. And what that does is it waxing the thread, so it won't. So you see it have a layer of candle on it right now. Okay, so it won't bundle the stitch. Are we all good? Somebody give me a sign if everything is okay. I'm just gonna put all this away for now. Okay. So what we're gonna do now, you're gonna. So the Sashiko, it pretty much is the technical term for it. It visible mending, right? So what it means is just visually, you can see the stitches. That's what exactly mean. So it came from, it popularized in the eco area in Japan, and what they do is basically they try to perfect everything they do. So they started to do pattern work with the. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you some of the patterns. So if you have a piece of paper or fabric, we're gonna do this on it later on. But I'm gonna just show you what exactly how it looks. Okay, so the stitch, it usually about half an inch stitch different. So we're gonna draw this right onto the piece that we're gonna work on, right? So you're gonna do the beginning and end. So I'm just doing this quickly so you can see what it looked like. So as you can see, I'm stitching. So I'm stitching it with the hand right now. And then we're gonna do this on the piece of clothes that we're gonna do together. Right? So you can do a straight stitch, and if you feel more adventurous, you can cross it. So the same thing. So you just cross right over it. At the you notice the same parallel, right? So we want to make sure they're nice and straight. So that's why the pattern looks very cool when it's all done. So these are the 2 stitches that we're gonna try to do today. I'm just doing it quickly, but when we do them on the fabric, we need to be more precise. So you can do a straight stitch or the cross stitch. The other stitch that I'm going to show you is a freehand. It would be like, sorry, I'm just looking for the piece. So this is a freehand stitch, right? So it's a circular. So, okay, so this is also quite easy. So this is the easiest one to do, and it's less labor intensive compared to these type of stitch. And to do the circular one, it's the same idea. We're gonna start from the small one, and then we're just gonna do a circle, and then on top of it, you match the line where the stitch before, and then again you expand it outward like so. Okay, and of course you want to fill in the in-between as well. And then as you go along, so this is very easy to do. This is a circular stitch. So, and the cross stitch here, it will look like this.
Adam,
see, so I do.
There is a question by Sherry. She's asking if it should be 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch between the lines. The distance between.
1/2 inch is better. 1/4 inch is too tight together. Okay, so the minimum I would say 3/8 of an inch or a 1/2 inch. So this is a 1/2 inch space, and this is a 3/4 of an inch space. So a 1/4 of an inch would be very tight knit. If you want to do that, you could as well, but I think it's a little bit too tight and it's not gonna look as good. But then it's up to you, because you basically we're just gonna experiment and then really then no set rule, right? I'm also do like a freehand here. If you can see, I do like a heart style, and then outside I do like stitching. But this is more like a freehand, and I think I have like hope. Like this one here. Is a quarter of an inch. So I do 1/4 of an inch, 3 pieces together, and I separate it by 3/3 of an inch, and I do a 1/4 of an inch, and I spread it out again. So there are many different ways you can go about doing any of this. So it's not a right or wrong. I'm just gonna show you the basic to do them, and then you can use your creativity to do any type of thing you like. Any questions so far? Great. All right. So let's get started. You can technically do any color you want. So I'm going to start with my damaged piece of jean here, right? So there are a big hole. And I'm going to be a little bit more fun. So this is an old pair of socks which have hole in them, right? So basically it's destined for landfill. I can cement it, but I'm not gonna do that. But I like the pattern on here, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this up, and I'm gonna use this on the pair of jeans. So it's gonna be stand out a little bit more and a little bit more funner to do. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna prep this. I'm just gonna cut this into a flat piece of fabric. So I'm doing an extra little step that you don't have to do if you already have a flat piece of fabric. Okay. So next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure my rib jean. So my rib jean is about this high. So I want to make sure it cover about that much. Okay. So I'm gonna give you time to do all this. So don't worry. I'm just gonna go through it quickly so you'll see the whole process of it. So what that means is I'm gonna take the flat piece of fabric. I'm basically gonna position it roughly. So I would say that much. Okay, so that would cover pretty much that whole area, and that's it. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna flip this jean inside out. So you can see the piece before. And then I'm gonna use the fabric which you cut. I'm gonna play on top of this. So it right in the middle, the hole, it right in the middle. And from here, I'm just gonna use safety pin or pin. Okay, and then just secure it down. So I'm just gonna pin it down. So make sure the rip or the hole of your jean is right in the center of this piece of fabric that we're trying to secure. So go ahead, everybody, do your thing. I'm gonna give you about 10 minutes to do this. And then I will continue on to the next step. This. So anybody have any question, or if I go too fast, just let me know. And then I will slow down, or if you're unsure of the step that I mentioned, just give me a howler. And then I would repeat it. And of course, you can just watch for now and then come back later, because we're gonna have all this recorded and be available to you in a few weeks when everything catch up. And Figment gonna send out the this video for you to rewatch and then redo what follow along again.
There is a question. Somebody asking, do you think upholstery fabric would be too thick to work with? She has a book of samples with some lovely fabric, but it's very stiff.
Yes, upholstery fabric is very, very stiff. You need really, it depends what you're gonna put it on. So if you're gonna put it on clothes, I think it may be too stiff, but you can put it on your bag, or you can make a bag of Sashiko out of. So, but if it's for mending on the clothes, it would be very stiff. But if it's for a jacket, it might be okay. So it depends what type of clothes you put it on. You want to show me the picture? Like, I don't know if you want to turn on your camera and show it to me and see it might work or not. There's no rule, to be honest. It's just the compatible of the piece to each other. That's what we're trying to make sure. I'm using sock because it's flexible. So this is the knee area of my jean. It got ripped. So if I sewed it on again, it would be easily stretched and it will protect that area a little bit farther. The whole idea is you mended the clothes for it to last a little bit longer, right? So there's no right or wrong step. So the next step is I'm gonna turn this back to the face size. Okay. So because I did it around the edge of the fabric, I have a rough idea of where the under piece is, right? And what we're gonna do, I'm gonna use the ruler. I'm gonna draw a square. So it gives me a rough estimate. So I'm gonna line it with the hole. But if you have a circular hole, it might be a little bit difficult. So just basically, you want to draw a square thing like that. Okay. So I might need to use a different type of chalk. So again, as you can see, I'm not being very technical about all this.
There's another question, Adam.
Yep.
It's like, is a special type of needle used, or can a normal hand-sewn needle work?
I am using a hand sewn needle work. The idea is if you can get one with a bigger hole, because they come in different size of needle hole. So the bigger the hole, the better, because you can add a lot more thread in them. So as you can see, these are the package I get from, I think I got this, I think one of them from a dollar store. And that come with the needle assist thread thingy. I don't even know what you call these. Yeah, and this one it come in a whole bunch of different sizes, and these one, as you can see, the hole is very small, and they have the big one which I use. And this one, it come in like big size needle hole here. So you see the different sizes. So I usually use like the big sizes one. Needle pack usually come in like a whole bunch of different size, unless you buy the one in a little tube and they come in also, only one size. So yeah, they're no really right or wrong. So these are lower quality needle. The higher quality one have a little bit of a red gold plate ending, so it doesn't get rusted. But I find that because I use a lot of handwork, so the needle does get dull, and I tend to throw them out, because when it's very dull, it's really hard to go through the fabric, right? So as you can see here, you see how big these holes are, and those are the ones that I love using specifically for this type of project. Any other question?
Yes, Rose has the fabric that you were asking for to show her.
Yes, let me see.
Yep, sure. She also has a question that the needle threaders break easily, but she bought a bag of them from Amazon.
The thread break easily, so it probably like it's 100% cotton or something. So usually, I don't like to suggest using polyester, but in this case, the polyester thread is actually better. Yeah. So if it break, I don't really know. The quality of the threads. Like I say, if you do what we did, where the thread. So like if you do like 6, like 3 of each, and then they come in 6. So that would add strength to it, right? So you should be fine, because we thread like 6 thread here. So 3 and 3, and then we double that down. So I think you should be fine for now. Yep. Next question. We good? Should I go on to the next?
Rose is actually saying that she is talking about the little hole that is used to thread the needle, not the thread itself.
Oh, it's too small to go in?
Yeah, no, the needle threaders break easily. That's what you're saying.
Oh, that what you call them? I don't even know what they call this thing. They actually do break very easily. Yeah, because this thing is so thin. The little wire, it's really thin. To be honest, I hardly ever use these things. I usually go by hand, but as I get quite older, I'm beginning to find these are very useful. So I'm not sure how I can suggest it, but these things, like, you have to be very extra careful with them when you're using them. Because the wire is not really strong, because they're so fine.
Rose can now speak, actually. Rose, would you like to ask something?
Well, no, I have these fabric samples. I can see how I'm unmuted, but how do I get it so you can see me?
I have now asked you to start the video. Can you do that?
Okay, start video. Is that what I'm doing then?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, hello, here I am. So there's a place in Toronto that has stuff mostly for teachers, and they tend to have books of fabric and stuff. So I have these.
Don't move too fast, slowly, so it doesn't get blurry. Yep.
I
Yeah,
have
I see.
these pieces, and I also got this book of, they're mostly solid colors, but look at the range of colors in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
thought
it's perfect for this project.
those would show up really nicely, show up the Sashiko stitching really nicely, if you don't think it would be too thick. There seems to be a backing on a lot of them.
Like I say, that it's a judgment call.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And from where I am, some of them doesn't look that thick, but you need to actually put it again. What are you putting it on?
I've been working on a denim jacket that is, quote, distressed. And I've been undistressing it by using embroidery, but I'd like to also add some Sashiko elements. So it's a denim.
So it should be fine
jacket.
Because some of those that I saw, it's not that thick, but it depends on. You have to put it right next to it. You have to see the flexibility of the piece.
Right, and compare it to the fabric. Yes.
Yeah. So use the one that not as stiff, because with denim, and if you de-stress it a little bit, that the furniture fabric, it will also soften it down as you wash it as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe I should try pre-washing it.
Yeah, because all the sample have starch on them.
Right.
So it makes it a little bit stiffer than the actual fabric.
Do you have a recommendation of a kind of needle that goes through the thick stuff better? Oh, there you go. Now you've got more wine to go with.
Yep.
It'll help you answer the question.
Like I say, it will be a really fun class.
Yeah, I can hardly wait till the end of it. When you've cracked open the fourth bottle.
Yeah. So as you can see, I use like this needle a little bit thicker than the average needle.
Can you get a close up of that? I can't actually see. Oh, there. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Right.
Oh, that's quite heavy.
Yeah. So I also have used the regular needle as well.
Yes.
So basically, I use whatever I can find, and sometimes I do this very quickly. I mean, sometimes I do them within like an hour, so I just do them quickly. So like I can thread like this. You see, this is quite a small hole in them, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Compared to this one, have a bigger hole.
Right.
And to be honest, I prefer the thinner one because it goes through fabric easier.
Right.
But the bigger one is easier to thread.
Well, that's why I was making the comment about the needle threaders or whatever they're called, that after like 3 of mine broke, I found out that you can get a bag of 20 of them from Amazon for not very much money.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before, that I was messaging or commenting about. You can get
there
bags.
You go, people. We got a tip tonight. You can buy all this if you don't want to like blind yourself. Threading the needle, threading the thread.
All
right.
That.
Wonderful. Now, should we move on to the next phase?
Yeah. You can unmute me and stuff now if you want. Aruj, thank you.
No problems.
Thank you. All right. So now, as you can see, I have a nice square, right? So I have 2 options. I can do a base stitch around the edge, or I leave it and then I will do the Sashiko beyond the edge. So you have those 2 options. I'm gonna show you what it looked like. So this here, I do it tone on tone. Okay, so but I also have a gold thread in one. So I do 6 plus 1 gold. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the inside of this. See? So I just like go beyond the patchwork. Now, if some of you are doing jean and specifically stretch jean, which is like this, I would suggest only do a straight stitch, okay? Because if you do a cross stitch like this, you cannot stretch it. Okay, so you have to be mindful with the type of fabric you doing a hand stitch on as well. Because when this was invented, there's no such thing called stretchy fabric. Okay, so with the stretch jean, the only stitch you have to do is you're gonna do one straight stitch. Now, but the other thing is you have to actually finish your stitch with each line. So that means you have to tie the knot, beginning and end, and then start a new one. Otherwise, you cannot stretch the jean. So that is a little technical thing that you need to keep in mind when you do that. But the general idea are exactly the same. Okay, so you see the stitch. So this is a stretch jean. It go completely straight. So this is a 1/2 inch space. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is, since I have two different type of thing here, I'm gonna do a straight stitch on the outside so you can see me start, and then I'm gonna go a circular thing on the inside. So I'm gonna do two different stitch as your demonstration. So you see the stitch here. So make sure you need to mark the beginning and end of each stitch so they be exactly the same. Or what you can do is you just draw a straight line, 1/2 inches. So I'm gonna do 3. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then I'm gonna do again. So basically you draw a square.
There is another question, Adam.
Yep.
Margaret is making a patch out of denim for sweater. The elbow is worn out. Is there any advice?
Okay. That I think it's better to do a circular stitch like this one. So it's better freehand. So and that will go around the patch because the elbow is bent right like this. So it will go around like this. It's better. But you are welcome to do a straight stitch as well. Like I said, there's no right or wrong rule in this. You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready to go?
So I'm gonna give you another few minutes to prep this. And in the meantime, anybody have question? Go ahead. And if you finish drawing the square, I would suggest go ahead and thread your needle and tie the knot. So I'm gonna do 2 of these because we're gonna need more than 2.
There we go. I am just itching to start. So I'm wondering, how long are your stitches, and is it a straight stitch that you use to do the sashiko? That's my question.
It is a straight stitch, yes.
And how long is each of your stitches, or
each of the stitches is about 1/2 inch or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you already know what you're doing, go ahead and start.
There we go.
Yeah. And the other thing, I also have a pattern of Sashiko stitch. It's basically geographic style. I put it on my Instagram story, so you can go there. If you don't have it, you can go there and then see different style that you can variation that we can create.
That's really helpful. How do we find you?
So Adam _ Quang, Quang, and underneath story, in the story that I have like 6 different patterns on there.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have just sent everybody the link to Adam's Instagram account.
Awesome. Yeah, because with what I'm showing you tonight, it really is really the basic. But with this basic stitch, you can literally do pretty much almost anything. So I used to produce a hand embroidery stitch and thing. So this is a tablecloth that you can use Sashiko to do. Okay, so it's a very simple, straightforward. This is actually embroidered, but Sashiko can also produce this type of pattern as well. So this is a table topper that can fit on any size, but as you can see, it just use the basic straight stitch, and this one we use the navy color on them. So like I said, the creativity for this type of art is almost seamless and endless. Okay, so I'm just showing you a whole bunch of different ideas, but you're gonna get inspiration on it. You may create something new. And on either on Facebook or on Instagram, I posted 3 posts, and it have different type of patchwork, different type of stitch on them, so you can see that and use it as a reference as well.
Awesome.
So are we ready to start stitching? I know we have like some beginner here, so I just want to make sure like nice and easy so they don't get overwhelmed. And I think there we go. I thought I lost my thread. All right, so we're gonna get started, okay? So we're gonna start, so make sure you knot your bottom piece into a knot here, right? And I'm gonna start from the inside out from the beginning. So now you're gonna use, as you can see here, all the little corner, that where, so you can either do the stitch at that junction or in between. So you have to figure out where you want to go with this, right? So for me, I use the corner has a mark to do a 4 stitch like this. Okay. So this is where the corner is. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna start at the beginning here. It's kind of hard to do this. So put a hand underneath, and then cross my corner, and make sure you come back in between a little stitch. Can you see that little stitch here? And then go over the corner one more time. So the whole idea is at the corner, it where the 4 stitches. So I'm gonna do one so you can see. Okay, go ahead, start your thing. And when you end at the first line, give me a few seconds. Now, the other thing is make sure you pass the thread through the bottom fabric as well. Otherwise, you just do the top stitching. So it's a little bit harder for me because I'm trying to do them on the camera so you can actually see them. So now, as you can see, the fabric bundle up a little bit. Make sure you straighten it out, okay? And don't worry, as you see it like a little crooked and all that stuff, it's fine, because the whole idea about the Sashiko stitches is the imperfect become perfection. So we see beauty in the imperfect. Now I reach my last stitch. So as you can see, I have extra thread here. So I'm just gonna hold the little knot underneath and kind of straighten out my thread. And if it doesn't, go back and pull on it a little bit. Okay. Now I already see that my thread is getting a little catchy on, so I'm just gonna pass it through the wax one more time just to get it a little bit more smoother. Okay, so go ahead and start with your thing. I'm just gonna do both sides of this quickly, and then whoever finished first can enjoy their wine. So make sure you get the underneath fabric. You can do it one at a time. And I would suggest, because this is a base stitch in sewing, you would finish the stitch every 2 or at each one of your end. Okay, so meaning I will finish it quickly, and I will show you what I mean. Make sure the bottom fabric is catch on. So I finished 2 lines. As you can see, I'm just gonna straighten it out. So make sure I have a little extra thread here. I'm just gonna pull on it at the end. So as you see, I pull on it, it pulled on the line before. So make sure be careful to pull it back so you don't wrinkle the line. Okay. Now I'm gonna finish this, so in case it got ripped later on, you don't lose the whole thing. Okay, so how I'm gonna do that, if you want to pay attention, I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna come back up. Okay, now you can either do this on the wrong side. Actually, I'm gonna do it on the wrong side. It's just easier for me. So you see, the wrong side, I'm just gonna go in again, past it, pull my thread around it so you can make a knot. And then to secure it one more time, pat the thread to the hole one more time, pull it again one more time. So basically you just double knot that. Okay, and then now I'm gonna go to the third line, which I need to find. So you go turn it back to the front, and then make sure they line up, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be a little bit close. And line up with that, go down, make sure it passes through the fabric at the bottom. So you can have one hand at the bottom, one hand on top if you want. I usually do this just right in front of me, but this time I have to reach, so a little bit more difficult. So one hand at the bottom, one hand on the top, pass through it. So now I go to where the hole is, and that's okay. Just go right, make sure you match the one before, and continue the same parallel pattern. And make sure you don't poke yourself. And as you can see, it's not perfect. Some of it is bigger, some of it thinner, longer, shorter, and it's okay. That's the whole idea about this. There's no one correct way. If you want to be perfect, some people want to be completely perfect, and I find that a little bit too perfect and it kind of look boring, right? So I like kind of like looks. So this is a little bit more artistically wise. So I have 2 straight lines. So I only want to do 3 lines each. So I'm gonna knot this up and cut off the thread. But before I do that, the little extra thread here, you just want to straighten it out and make sure you pull it back a little bit so the thread, it doesn't pull, right? So it's nice and straight. And I'm going to go to the back. So you see, it's stitched underneath, and I'm going to just tie it up. So pass through. We're going to do the same thing again. And one more time. How we doing, everyone? I'm gonna cut that off. And I finished one side. Easy and peasy. Have some wine. So this is enough for 1 or maybe 2. Yeah, probably just 1. Make a knot. So always pass it through a candle. And that just make the job easier. And the thread doesn't get mangled up. So if you're working on something that is less thick, because I'm working on a pair of jeans right now, so the fabric quite thick, I can just literally base this and go super fast. But because of the nature of this fabric, it's a little bit harder. So make sure you don't stitch the safety pin in. So just a little hint, otherwise you have to undo everything you did. I know in real class, some of us do them. So you don't have to point out who you are. The fun part is you can always start over again because it's so easy and simple. So in the sewing and embroidery, we call this a base stitch. Okay, so I'm just gonna knot it because I don't have any more thread here. And that's it. Sometimes I do the knot on the outside, and that adds to the artistic of it. I think I did. So if you look at here, my dress shirt that I did, so I actually knot on the outside. As you see, I damaged this with the iron, and I just kind of like base stitch it, and then I use the knot, has a little fringes at the end, just to add kind of style to it. So this here, I cross it right on top of each other, and then I extend it a little bit farther than it needs to be. So you can use this as well because I base the stitch around the hole, so therefore it will stop the hole from rip any farther as well. So I'm gonna finish the 2 line. So anybody have any questions so far? How we doing? You wanna chip in, send us a message, show your process. So what is everybody working on tonight? Or some of us are just watching for the fun of watching? No? No, Michelle?
No, she's currently sewing on scraps and will sew on clothes later.
Okay, no problem. So as you can see, these stitches are quite huge. So they're a little bigger than 1/2 inches, to be honest. They're quite bigger than what I usually do, but because I have to kind of reach forward and stitching, so this is gonna be, it should be fine for now. But I usually like to keep them like 3/8. Oops, I just poked myself. 3/8 or under 1/2 inches. Okay, so if you see here, I have a safety pin right here. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it to the back so you can see it right across my stitch. And of course, it get caught on things as well. So it will happen. You can cut that out. I'm gonna undo the safety pin. Otherwise, it'd be sewed right into the thing, right? So that's it. And then go beyond it. Turn it back. And I lost the needle, but that's okay. So I'm here. Just gonna go back here. So that's why we have a line that we pre-draw. So I'm using Taylor chalk, and it does come off after you wash it, or if you just simply steam it with your iron, it will come off. So I don't like to be too perfect. It kind of takes away the whole idea of, random beauty. So I'm gonna start the next line a little bit farther down. So you see, like I stop drawing here, but you see I go a little bit farther down. So it's okay as well. So what is everybody working on tonight? I know we're working on a jacket. I'm working on pair of jeans,
Pair of pants.
pair of pants. And of course, you can also make purses, phone holder, plate mat holder. It's basically pretty much endless, to be honest. And I have to be careful not to poke myself. All right, so come to another safety pin. I'm just gonna undo the safety pin so I don't sew it. So you see it get caught on. Oop.
Could you pass me the spiral?
Yep. So I will go to the next stage in about 10 minutes. If you have any question, let me know. So the next stage is I'm gonna do the freehand circular stitch. So if you have any question now or question about ideas that you want to do and stuff like that, just give me a shout. So is anybody here tonight that is new to sewing? How we doing on time? I can't tell.
It's about 8:15, 8:10.
8:10? Okay, so we're an hour in. So while you wait, I'm gonna show you my masterwork piece, the jean that's been around for over 30 years. So this is a lot of different stitching here. Okay, so this is just a straight stitch. And then this is leather here. I forgot somebody talking about the stiff fabric. So this is a very stiff leather that I sew on, but it worked with this, right? So it's very hard to do because I actually needed the flyer to pull the thread out. So my finger would like sore for a few days. So this here is a cross stitch. It's a little bit more nice and neat. So basically the same idea, it base stitch down and then you cross it. So basically double the work. I'm quite lazy, so I like the circular one, just a simple, straightforward, and it's done. So I do like, so this here, I don't know, you can tell that a big circular here. So if you pay closely, right? So like the full half circle. And this here, I'm using embroidery thread. So you see 3 different shades of blue. Because there's so many stuff happening in these jeans, it's kind of hard to tell. And this is also circular. And I'm using pink. And the circular is also great to go around the pocket, because the pocket have a hole in them. So if you do straight, it's really hard to go through. So with a circular, you can actually go inside the pocket if you want, and then all the way around as well. So I find the circular one is more versatile. And of course, this is an archive pair of socks I used to have that you saw me tonight. I'm just padded right on top of it. And I do pattern on pattern. And sometimes that actually have a really cool effect. And of course, this is on the same color, like black on black, tone on tone. So it really did no rule, to be honest. Yeah, this have so many stitches on top of stitches on top of stitches. These one. Yeah, so I just ripped it again, so it have to do another piece here. So everybody good so far? You want to show your work and see where we at, or should I continue to the next one? So either type or let us know. So
Sherry has a comment. She said that she's been sewing since middle school, but recently heard of this method.
Really? Yeah. And how did you come across it, Shirley?
Sherry.
Sherry.
Sherry, if you want, you can unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Yeah. Can you?
I have, yeah.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
This is my third workshop today through you guys. I'm so excited. The Toronto group. So I am in a Fiber Arts Guild of Pittsburgh, and I've been here for ages. And one of our folks has just gotten so much into denim and working with the stitching. So I've been fascinated, and I wasn't sure what the magic was. And I think the magic is your creativity and your encouragement. I think that's what it really is.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So as you can see, like all the sample I show you, you can basically go to any direction with this. And the whole idea behind this is like, you know how the broken glass of cup of tea, and you mend it and you put a gold plate on, mend it with gold. So
Right.
It's basically similar to that. It basically, we're looking for the perfection in the imperfect. So that's the whole idea behind the Sashiko.
Does it fit into the concept of wabi-sabi at all, which I'm just barely familiar with?
It is actually. It's similar idea. So this Sashiko, the little history, if you don't know about them, it started out in a fishing village in Japan. Okay, so people just like hand stitching and because they don't have a lot of money, like they poor, so they peasant, so they basically do hand stitch and to mend their fisherman clothes and then fish nets and all that stuff. But as in everything in Japan, they want to make everything perfect. So they started experimental with geometric pattern, right? So we have like the two basic geometric pattern that I'm showing you tonight is the base, and then it get very complicated. The one that I posted on Instagram today on the story. So that like 6 different geometric pattern you can actually do, and the more pattern it is, it just the complexity and the difficult of it. But it all come from these two basic base stitches.
You mean the circle and the straight ones?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it depends how much time we have. I can actually go into the combination of the circle and the straight later, because it depends how much time we have. But yeah, it's like you can basically come up with a lot of interesting stitching technique.
Adam, there is also one more comment from John.
Yep.
She says,
yes.
she was doing machine patching back in the 70s. Neil Young's patchwork jeans were one of her inspirations.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the patchwork, had you see the jacket that I showed you earlier? I'm gonna take it down the mannequin. So this patchwork here is the same thing. Oops, sorry. So I decided to add a golden heart to it. So basically I do start with a circle, right? And instead of straight stitch, I do diagonal. And the trick with the Sashiko is a repeat line. Okay, so you see the line before and the line after, it line on top of each other. Right? So you see, and then you can add the line in between as well, and then it's expanded out. So that basically the principle of Sashiko is basically line parallel to each other. But because of this, it looks different, but it's the same principle. Yeah, so this is basically the patchwork I did. It have all the different type of fabric on here. This is silk velvet, denim, a jacket, wool, another velvet here. So yeah, so basically you can do like patchwork, and then after the patchwork, you do a stitch on them.
Adam, I really think because my clothes were all patchwork back in those days, but I think that this is far more beautiful, and it adds. It's just, especially that piece you just showed us. That was gorgeous. This is very inspiring. Yeah.
That what this. Believe it or not, this jacket been around since the early '90s. So I used to hem all my pants. So these are like the extra pieces at the bottom. I just use them to make this jacket. Yeah. So I did like whole bunch of fashion project. So like for this material here, I won. I was the finalist for an international competition for in the early '90s. I think I was. This is what I won the Young Quebec Bar Designer Award for this. I did something in this material. This is a silk velvet. So they all kind of have a history. So I like patchwork and the Sashiko stitching because that kind of like a message of time, right? So like you continue stitching on top of your life. So your life change, but you add on stitching, and that's what beautiful about the Sashiko technique, because it's just like you don't draw anything where you kind of add beauty to whatever life experience is. All right, so are we ready to go to the circular stitch? So if you like, you can do this later on. You can just go past a diagonal cross, right? So cross each other, and then you have the cross stitch like this. So it basically double the amount of work that you just did. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to a circular stitch. So with the circular stitch, you want to figure out how you want to do them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around the little heart here that I already have. So I'm gonna start the base. I'm gonna just work the circle like this. Okay. So I'm gonna go from the inside here. And sometimes, if you have interesting fabric, you can have it little peekaboo as well. So let it show through, so you can see what underneath as well. So it doesn't have to be completely meant up and hide everything. The whole idea is to build up the beauty inside the beauty, right? So, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do right now. I'm just gonna pin it so you can see a little bit of the fabric show through. So I'm gonna pin it on the outside. So when I wear this, and this is where the knee is, that when it rips, And then we're gonna pull up a little bit on the top as well. So I want a little bit showing. So it will stretch out because this is actually soft, right? Okay, so I'm gonna start with the basic stitch in a circular motion. If you like, I'm quite comfortable doing freehand, but if you like, you can also use chalk to pre-draw it in. So if you're not sure or unsure of how to go about it, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like that, and then circle around it. Okay, so it just gives you an idea. I don't use. I'm gonna do a. I'm just gonna stay with the same color right now. So just need to retread. Give me 1 second here. I'm just gonna retread the needle. And then somehow oh, there you go. Okay. I'm doing a tree. So the thickness of the thread is pretty much based on you. So that depends on how big the hole of the needle is really. So with the needle tracer, it's so much easier. Cause otherwise it takes me like a minute or two to get this line up. So line up at the bottom. And then I'm just gonna pass the wax through it. So I usually use a longer thread than this, and I find the wax really helpful. Of course, you can buy specialty wax for the Sashiko and all that stuff, but to be honest, I mean, you don't need any of that. It's pretty much a gimmick to make money. So I'm just basically start from here, and I'm gonna start doing the circular thing. So make sure the second stitch is close to the first stitch, so you don't have too much space in between them. So as you see, cause I have a space here, I go right into the hole as well. Now, as you can see, this always gonna happen, the little thread, okay? So hold one end or the closest stitch and then pull on it, and it will straighten it out. You see what I just did? Hold it down, so pinch it with 2 fingers, and then you kind of pull it, so all the thread gonna straighten it out. Okay, so go ahead. So don't get discouraged. The first 1 or 2 circles, it doesn't seem like anything, okay? So make sure you just continue to go parallel to the one before. So the first circle, it's really important to like space out the proper space. Ouch. Mhm. Make sure you go underneath the needle. Now, what I like is I want to do like a expanding circle outward, right? So I'm gonna go back to the opposite direction. So make sure it's about 1/2 inch or 3/8 out. Now that my thread it get a little mangled, I'm gonna pass it through wax one more time. How you doing, Sharon?
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Almost there. Small patch.
Yeah. And this is very, very relaxing as well. I'm gonna take this out because I think it should be fine now. So make sure it's parallel. And again, don't worry about it being perfect, okay? So as you can see, I have a little stitch here that is not big enough. So the next stitch, I'm just gonna make it bigger, so just to cover that. So there's no perfect in this. So it's about the overall of the complete piece instead of like the micromanaging of like the small little pieces. So right now I'm doing it right onto the sock. Switch hand. So it's all about the angle with this thing. Yep. Cut here. If anybody have any question? Everybody busy? So as you can see, it started to take shape, a circle.
Michelle has a question here. Why
Yep.
do you stitch directions in when going around the circle? Does it make it stronger?
Say that again.
She's saying, why do you switch directions in when going around the circle? Does it make it stronger?
No, it doesn't make it stronger. It basically just easier. It just easier. Because if I don't, that means I have to turn the whole thing around, right? So I have to turn the stitch. So if this was on a flat piece of fabric, nothing behind, then I can just turn the material like this, right? But because it ends here and the circle is gonna expand bigger, it's gonna expand higher. So what I'm gonna do is, this is the end of this side, but on the top here, it's gonna be bigger. It's a bigger circle. So you're gonna see layer and layer on the top, but at the bottom, there are only two stitch. That way. So basically, just artistic license. So it's gonna be a lopsided circular. Now, the thing with this is, if you do a base stitch and then one of them break, you're gonna start losing all of them. So I would suggest randomly in between do a knot stitch. You can do either on the top like what I'm doing right now, or do them on the back. So even if it got ripped here, you don't lose the whole circle. Okay, so that's just a little tip that you can do. And as you can see, I line my stitch as closely to the stitch before. And I'm finishing up my thread, so I'm just gonna end here. Okay, so I'm gonna end the thread here because this is where the end of the underneath fabric is. So, and I'm gonna continue to add another 2-3 layer on the top. And I'm gonna expand it out the whole thing. So that means I'm just gonna redo back out. And I'm gonna stitch on top and in between. The one that we did a straight stitch. So what this means is, even you did a straight stitch and you weren't sure about them, and you can also sew on top of it to create something different. Okay, so I'm running out of thread, so I'm just gonna do 2 more stitches here, and then I'm gonna switch the get new piece of thread. I'm gonna take this out. So how's everybody doing? So I'm gonna do a end stitch. If you want to watch how to end a stitch again, I do a little bit here, pass it through, and then at a different angle, pass the thread and needle in between the thread. So you see a little hole, pass it through here, and that's it. And then you can pass it through one more time, and then that's it. Cut it right close to it. Go. It started to take shape. There you go. A little bundle. So yeah. So make sure stretch it out a little until you pull the thread a little too tight. Yeah. So can I show them?
Yeah.
So yeah. So you see here, if you pull the thread a little bit tight, it creates a bundle. Okay, and that's okay. That also another type of embroidery. There are like so many ways to do this. So if you don't want to avoid this, make sure you just stretch it back out a little bit because it's a base stitch. You use a little finger. Sorry, I have to give you a finger. Any finger from the bottom up, and then to kind of like go in between the stitch and then just stretch it out. It's not gonna be hot much, but it will kind of like even it out a little bit. Yeah. So how is everybody doing? What is your project? Show me something. Show me some of your work. Anybody? Okay.
Oh, we have Michelle. She's showing something. Okay, let me put her on spotlight. There we are.
Wow, look at that. That's great. Yeah, so this little patch, you can pretty much add it onto anything. That's a bit amazing. Thank you, Michelle. So they're gonna wax this again. So you can pass the thread to the wax a few times. I'm just using tea light, but pretty much any type candle you have in your house would work. As long, of course, it's clear. I'm
Rose,
using
would you like to go?
Sure. This isn't from tonight, but this is the jacket I've been working on. So here's
That's
a bit.
amazing.
That's using a bit. You see, I've embroidered in the middle, and then here's another color bit. Oops. There we go. Put the light behind me. It's not a halo, it's a lamp. So I
you
got
use
that.
a circular stitch.
Yeah, and then on the sleeve, one of the sleeves I did just like this.
Oh, you use a cross stitch on the sleeve.
This is
Pretty.
cool.
Because I really like a rainbow of colors, and then the other sleeve I just embroidered like flowers coming up.
Right. Oh, so you
that's
did the
kind of
knot embroidery.
Yeah, so that's kind of the goal, is to basically just get this whole thing eventually covered in interesting stitches and just bits like that. And
That is very beautiful.
but now I can do more around Sashiko kinds of stuff, now that I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit from watching you explain it, because you explain very well.
Thank you.
It's very easy to follow because you're doing it, and it's between what you're saying and what you're doing, I'm finding it very easy to imagine myself doing it. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people find this very intimidating, and it shouldn't be because it have a very humble beginning, right? So it basically the most difficult thing is to make sure you space out the thread properly, and that's pretty much it. And there's no right or wrong in this really. So yeah, and if you make a mistake, it's okay. Just use it and then incorporate it into the next stitch. So I think this is the last stitch I have because I'm beyond the fabric at the bottom already. And then when that's done, I'm just gonna have an overview again to see how it looks.
Someone was talking on the CBC today about how we need to make it so that it's not new items that give status, but beautifully repaired old items. And so here we are.
Yeah.
And
so
here we are, exactly this.
Yeah. So what it is I've been doing sustainability installation artwork, and I basically, if you have time, you can look on my website. I use garbage and I make them into haute couture dresses. And the whole idea is to bring attention and create a conversation on sustainability. A lot of us don't realize that anything that have polyester in them, that it's actually plastic. And plastic, every time you wash them, it creates microfiber. And so every time you wash your clothes, the microfiber release. And that in turn, go into the ocean, the fish eat them into the water, and then we end up ingesting it. So all these man-made material that we have, it's quite damaging. And the amount of clothing that are dumped into the landfill are so, it basically did, what was the number again? I think there is every 3 minutes or 8 minutes, there are 4 truckload of clothing get dumped into the Australia harbor, and it's so just that alone, it really alarming. That how much clothes we throw away. And the second-hand clothing that a lot of us in North American are so happy to donate. Most of them actually go to Asia and Africa, and it actually basically killing the whole fashion industry there. So the clothes have become so cheap, and textile waste, the stuff we ship there, they actually start to burn it now or throw it in the garbage because they don't even want them. So we really have a problem with overconsumption and disposableism. So my work, it basically bring attention to, it's not about anti-consumerism, but it's anti-disposableism. So anything that we have, we should technically use it for at least 10 times. Ideally, it's for the lifetime of the pieces, but most of the people can seem to phantom it. I mean, the idea most people will only wear a dress one because they don't want to be seen in it again. It's really a bizarre mentality. So I'm gonna stop here. So I think I'm done with this jean. I'm just gonna see the overall look of it for now and see how it is. So usually you do the knot on the inside to end your stitches, but with the colorful thread, I usually do them outside to add an extra thing to them. Okay, let's see. There you go. Oh, I should take this out. Ta-da! There you go. And if I feel like it, I can do a cross stitch diagonally across, like what I did here. And then if I wear them, it will open up. And then you see a little fabric on the inside.
Cool.
Let me see yours, Sharon.
So I'm done with this.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm planning to do is have a little cross
Stitch?
stitches here.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a nice patchwork on the back.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Here you go. This is another piece. Have you done this before?
I did it in like third grade.
Yeah.
But I feel like now that I'm doing it again after all these years, it's coming back to me.
Mm.
Like it's just muscle memory right at the end.
Yeah. Here you go. So how is everybody project coming along? Let's do a show and tell, everyone. Anybody? I feel like I'm talking to the boy. Nobody in front of me.
Pink thread and
So this piece, it can be add on a lot more if I feel like it. If anybody have any suggestion of what you like to see, and so I can actually do them in front of you and let you see what it is. How we doing on time?
We are good till 10 o'clock if you want.
Okay, so is 8 what? What are we now?
It's
So we have an
8:51
hour.
right now.
Okay, so I can actually do something else as well. So I can actually do an extra stitch on this, and I'll show you like some fancy stitches to add
Yeah.
on. And
John
to
is
the-
saying that I would love some color accent, perhaps yellow.
This is actually yellow gold, so I'm not sure you can see it. So on camera, it doesn't look like it, but it actually gold color. So what I can do is I'm gonna do a pink heart, just like stitch pointing outward. Or, so we have two colors. Any suggestion? I can do either pink or red to do the heart.
Oh, pink hearts are great. That's what John says.
Okay. I just take request. Why not? So do the thread. And I'm gonna do 4 layers for the thread. So that means 4 times 2 is 8 layers altogether. So if you use embroidery thread, it's a little bit thicker, so you can do 2 layer or 4 layer of embroidery thread. But I find it unnecessary, to be honest. It unless you do like fancy hand embroidery, which most of us don't. It doesn't really need to be that that much. So I'm gonna use a bigger needle here. Quite. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can move the camera a little bit closer because I'm reaching forward doing this. It's kind of a little bit uncomfortable. Are we okay? Yeah. I'm gonna do a knot. So I'm gonna do so I'm gonna attempt to do this stitch of the heart. So I'm gonna continue to do a cross stitch from what already happened. So we're gonna start. So you always find the starting point. So for the heart, I usually go at the base where the pointy area is. And I'm gonna go out from there. Make sure I don't poke myself. Excuse me. And again, be careful not to pull it too close because you're gonna puckle the stitch. And then from there, transfer them. So as you can see, starting out doesn't really look like anything. And that's usually the case doing this type of thing. So here, I'm gonna transfer here. So I already have a starting point. So I want to cross these stitches, so make sure you aim it in, so you can position in the middle of it. Okay, this is at a weird angle, so my arm is actually twisting when I'm sewing. And now I'm transferring them so I can do that stitch. So make sure you center them. So basically you have to plan ahead 1 or 2 steps. Now I already have a few stitches in. So I want to make sure I tied it down so I don't, so in case this break, I don't lose all my stitches. So I'm just gonna go through. Make a knot. And nice and tight. So make sure all your stitches nice and tight. There's no buckle. And we're gonna go underneath. So make sure I want to go back here, right? So be careful because you can just get lost in the stitch and then lost your pattern. And I'm gonna do another knot here. And that was a sign to have a glass of wine. Cheers. So don't worry if you do the point that arrow stripe, I would usually call them, because you can go back in and go in the in between, right? So you make sure you just have the right diagonal to begin with. I usually like to do a knot at every 2 or 3 line. So make sure you don't pull on it, straight out, put the finger in. See, I almost lost the direction, so it should be go straight down. So that's okay. You just go back and just adjust it. So the next stitch, make sure you go straight to the right direction. Yeah, so it's slowly taking shape, as you can see. So it formed a very basic stitch. We just doing a straight, and we do circular. Now we just do an arrow shooting outward. So this is my first Zoom Sashiko classes. It usually it's much easier to do it in person because I can actually help you in person and doing all that. So instead of me trying to entertain you straight 3 hours. So So as you can see, because of the diagonal of the shooting out stitch, it's not directly on top of the previous stitch, and that's the whole idea. It's fine. If you want to be perfect, that means you have to plan it out a little bit more, but I don't. Okay, so it basically it's artistic license. You can basically random try and error, and that's what beauty about this this hobby needlework is that you can just do them what you can, and you're gonna develop your own style. Okay, so I'm running out of thread, so I think that may be enough to do 2 more. So make sure you plan it out so you can tie it at the end. Now I'm running out of thread and I can do a circle, so I can actually back stitch it in to tie the knot. I'm gonna cut it, so I'm gonna tie it nice and tight. There you go. Alright, so now we're gonna need more thread. So like I say, the straight stitch, it takes a lot more work and a lot more thread. So that's why I favor the circular stitch. It just looks easier, faster. So I think I did 4 layers, right? Oh, so if anybody on Facebook, we actually have a Canada Sashiko group. If you like to join, and people put up their work, and then you can see different pattern and stuff like that. So you go search Sashiko Canada or Canada Sashiko, I think. So you'll see like different thing that people have done. Okay, let's continue. So everybody very quiet. How are we doing, everyone?
John
So-
really liked your burst stitching. She said that it's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is very simple, but you just need to watch your stitch because it's random, right? So they know one way to do them, but you just have to flatten down every now and again to see the direction of it. So I'm gonna do some direction at the bottom here. Need to be add a little few more here. So I'm gonna just do this one here. So if you can see that space here. So I'm just gonna do an add on to it. Okay. So make sure, so just a little bit reminder, everyone, make sure you cut the fabric underneath as well. It's very easy to continue your stitching and then you're not getting the fabric, the base fabric. Look like coming along.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. So I can continue. I can just leave it as is. It really there's no right or wrong rule. Anybody want to show me their piece or ask me a question on anything?
You okay, buddy? I'm gonna go up to bed.
Nobody?
Here, I'll show you mine.
All right, let's see.
I just patched a couple of, can you see them? A couple of little holes.
Oh, that's very
Sure.
pretty.
Yeah. Kind of random. That
Yep.
one. And this one.
Mhm.
Not wonderful, but good for the first tries. There,
This
yeah,
is your
there's the
first
other one.
time? It looked very great. There's no buckle, it's very flat.
Very meditative.
It is, doesn't it? It's very relaxed and you keep going and going. Sometimes I do this for hours and I don't realize the time passed.
Yeah, it's fun.
Anybody else? Let's show your stuff, people. All right. So let me see. So I'm gonna show you something else. I think I like how this looks. So you have to actually have an overall look. Just stop and then see if you want to add on or you just think that's enough, right? So I think this is kind of pretty as it is. If I add more, it's gonna be too much, I think. So I'm just gonna, I think this here it's gonna be finished. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you some other way to use your base stitch. Okay. So if you see the tablecloth that I showed you earlier, it comes from the same base stitch. It's just they layer on top of each other. Here they are. So these are Sashiko stitches. Okay, and these are base stitches. They just lay on top of each other. And yeah, so these are all hand embroidered. So if you look on the back side here, so when you look at hand embroidery, the back of it is show the quality of the embroider. So the front of it look nice, but the back it over the place. That means it's not a very good quality. It's kind of like handwriting, right? So when it look all messy or when it's very nice and neat, so that really it's the quality of the hand embroider. And you see here the same stitches for the Sashiko. You know, they keep it nice and tight and neat. So this is like it's really well done. So this is done by an artisan in Vietnam that I used to work with. So I used to sell these hand embroidery tablecloth. So just to show you. So I'm gonna just show you how to do these stitches. They're quite simple. So exactly the same stitches that we did, but they just basically lay on top of each other. Okay. So you're gonna get a sample fabric. Actually, give me the black fabric. It's gonna be perfect. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just do a free hand stitch, and from what I show you, you can basically draw any type of pattern after that. Okay. So this, I'm gonna show you how to do this stitch based on the Sashiko stitching. So, of course, when you do embroidery, you have a straight line or a pattern or whatever have you. So I'm just gonna simply draw that. Okay. So what you're gonna do is, it's the same base stitch. You're gonna start at the bottom. So this time I'm gonna do the tie at the bottom. Okay, so you're gonna go about 3/8, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go back to it. And then you pass the thread in between the thread. So I'm doing it on the black fabric so you can see it better. So this is what we call a chain stitch. So the Sashiko stitch, it basically started by the people who basically doesn't know how to do embroidery, but this is basically the foundation of all your embroidery. So I used to train at the I study embroidery, so just to show you, so you can use what you learn now and start pretty much anything you want. The other easy part is you lay the thread on the pattern that you draw, go to the forward stitch, right? So basically you go one, come back half, and go forward again. So go through, have the thread go through the in between. And then see, you have a chain stitch. So this is what we call the chain stitch. And it's based on the Sashiko stitching. So that is these stitches right here. Can everybody see that? Yeah. So to go more elaborate into the Sashiko stitching, So this is the chain stitch I use. And then of course I do beading and stuff like that on the t-shirt. And that's the same stitch that we use. So here I use the chain stitch, and then at the bottom here I use the Sashiko stitching. So it basically there's no limit on what you can do with this really simple stitching network. But it's the same thing. You just go over and over again with the Sashiko stitching, and it become a tail of a cat. Right? So yeah, so there you go. So we got that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start another circle on this ripped jean. I think there's like a few hole on this thing. I kind of save it for this workshop. So as you see here, it in the difficult area. So I'm gonna do another circle, add on to this here. And I'm gonna use an indigo patch. So patch is here. To roughly cut it. What time is it?
Like 9:26.
9:26.
Yes, we have like 25 minutes.
So that's not a lot of time. So I think we should start have people video, and then if you have any question or how to finish your project and stuff like that, this is actually you should ask me now, so we have enough time to work on it and I give you direction. Nobody?
Somebody's saying that's an awesome class and they're thanking you.
Awesome what? The fabric you mean?
The class.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, this is my first time doing this online, so I was worried that like I don't know how to go about it, because usually in person you can actually interact and then trying to fix or guide people, but online I'm kind of talking to the voice, so So anybody work on any project that you want me to help or anything?
Camille over here. Camille has a comment. She said that a lot of wonderful information. Thank you.
You're welcome. What information did you find it helpful? Camille?
The whole process was new and unique to me, and so I was just soaking in information and learning quite a bit. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been around for a while, but a lot of us don't realize it. It's quite a simple process. Have you sewed before?
Yes, when they had home ec in school. That's a long time ago.
It's been a while.
Yes.
Michelle was saying that this was a fun Sunday night mellow activity. You are very talented, and I love your passion for clothing and reusing. So many memorable quotes too. Being too perfect takes away from random beauty. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. So again, I'm just doing a random, so I'm just gonna add a circular here on this patch that it already been there. So the fabric underneath is quite thin, so I'm just gonna do like super speed. So this should be finished by the end of our class. So as you can see, the thread wanted to mango up, so all you have to do is to pull them out and then slowly pull them back, put your finger in there, and then just so this way your thread doesn't get mangled.
Adam, Tanisha said that this is so informative. Thank you. She's working on some fashion projects and can't wait to try this out. And Joan has said, apart from the stitching and design ideas, she too is interested in keeping items from landfill. You blew her mind when you used sock. A fantastic idea.
Well, thank you. Well, sock is one of the most disposable item on our like a lot of us would think that t-shirt and jean, but it actually sock it because it makes so much usage. People don't realize how much we throw away, and sock have a lot of polyester and microfiber produced in them. So if we can just use whatever we can and try to prevent it going to the landfill, and that would be great, because most of us don't realize the pair of socks could technically last in the landfill for 200 to 300 years. Yeah, so the biodegradable piece, it would be the cotton on the sock. A lot of us actually don't wear cotton sock, so that even lasts longer, but the elastic in the sock would last for hundreds of years in landfill.
Michelle is saying that she's new to this lovely art. Your session was really informative and cleared up a lot. She's no longer intimidated and will be starting soon as she gather all the necessary items. This was fun.
Thank you, Michelle. That's amazing. That's very encouraging to see. Sorry, I kept pulling away from the camera. So this stitch I took go about 3/8 of an inch in space, so a little bit closer. So there you go. I finished this circle. Took in time for our class. So make sure there's no pulling. There you go. I did another circle on top of the circle.
Oh, that looks nice.
So that the yin and yang side. So now underneath you have a choice to either base stitch it or to cut it around it. I usually just cut around it to just there you go. And this is what it look like underneath the sock. It's quite messy looking, but here's the finished product. Okay, so I think we should wrap it up. We did a lot today. If anybody have any other question, this is your time to ask. If you want to show me your finished project, show us and then just share what we did today. Or the embroidery. Yeah, they're very pretty. Chain
This was my
stitch.
first time embroidering.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. So this is one of the project we finished. Let's show them. So on the pocket flap, we got a chain stitch, that the one I show earlier. Very cool, right? Yeah, so the possibility is endless, people. So let's recap. So we have 3 stitches today. We have the circular base stitch, the straight stitch here, and then if you want to do a cross stitch in between, so I do straight stitch outside, and then on the small circle where I do a cross stitch, and then this is a big mess. But I kind of like it. So that's the whole idea about the Sashiko. It's just like you create, like, you know, you put everything in them, and then things just kind of come together. So there's no right and wrong. So don't worry if you worry about making a mistake. You can imagine a lot of these jeans, these clothes that you have, you're gonna throw them out anyway. So if you start working on them, you're gonna find it more appreciative, and then you want to keep it for longer, and that's the whole idea, right? So to get the connection with your clothes, and of course a lot of the clothes we wear, we get an attachment to them because they just become part of us. They have a memory attachment to them. When you put it on, you feel differently with each piece of different clothes, and I think we should develop that a little bit more. And then the more we do that, the more you're gonna spend less, and then if you spend less, you're gonna wear your clothes more. That means less things go to the landfill. It's all good. Yep. So anybody have any other question that you'd like to ask or want to know, or anything that I haven't missed, I haven't addressed that you wanted to ask but you haven't had a chance or kind of shy? This is your last chance. Fun.
Yeah.
All right, should we wrap up the class?
Sure, we can do that. Oh, Tanisha has a question here. What is the size of the thread you used?
The thread I use is basically a sewing thread. So this is just a spun thread, right? So they're very thin. And what we did is I went through earlier. We're gonna do 3 layers of thread, and then we doubled it. So when we pass it through, so double again, so that would be 6 layers of thread or 8 layers of thread in total. So 3 or 4 layers times 2. So that's why it looked a little bit thicker. So there you can get a thick thread. I find those are really, really difficult to sew. That's why you need the wax to kind of like kind of oil it along. And the wax does actually come up. And then if you worry about it, you can also iron or washing, and then they will go away anyway. But that's pretty much it. You don't really need to get anything special for Sashiko, to be honest. There are starter kit everywhere that you can buy, but for me that's just a marketing gimmick. To get any type of thread, you can pick it up at the sewn supply store. Just make sure they good quality thread. I think that is important about the quality. So these one, they actually make out of polyester cotton, so it is stronger. It's 100% cotton thread. They kind of break very easily, so I don't and they're not really good for the sewing machine either. So these are actually sewing machine thread that I just use. It's nothing really special. And the needle is the same thing. I bought these needle in, I think some of it in the sewn supply stores, one of it in the dollar store. Honestly, I don't remember which are which. The sewn needle lasts for a long time if you know, maintain them in correct way, and they don't get rusty. And that's pretty much it. Any other question? Okay, so can we switch it back to the other camera, the full view one?
Yes, we certainly
You-
can. Great.
All right. So thank you everybody for joining the class. I think this, I hope it was informative, and I show you whole bunch of different technique and pattern and stuff like that. Again, if you want to like be very precise on the traditional pattern, to be honest, it's not even traditional. It's somebody just draw trigonometric pattern. So if you want to actually do the actual trigonometric pattern, it's available on Instagram story and on Facebook as well. That's pretty much it. And you can find like all these patterns online as well. They like a ton of them. It not copyright anything, and you can make it very simple. All you need a ruler, and that's pretty much in a pen. So you can make it into anything. It's just a lot of time devoted to doing this, and you just need it. Also very relaxing, right? So it's like very meditative to just do them, and yeah, you can just relax doing them. That's what I do a lot of time. So yeah, I saw some message or something.
Yes, Joan is saying that thank you, Adam. She's inspired, and Roxanne has just shared your Instagram account with everybody.
Thank you. So yeah, if you like anything else, send me a message or send Figment a message. And yeah, like my Instagram and Facebook. And I do a lot of these type of upcycle project on my social media, so you're gonna see them. And the last piece I worked on was something a little bit scandalous. It's make out condom and underwear. So so you can go and have a look at those pictures as well. But yeah, so this is what this pair of jeans is actually part of the installation that I'm doing. So yeah, so and it all Sashiko work. So the front and then the back. So basically there's not a lot of jean left in here. So it's a patchwork on top of patchwork. And I use leather on here. I use like all different type of material on here. So if you have thick fabric, you can just patch it as well. It's just a lot of difficult. I mean, when I was sewing the leather, my hand would like get blister. So I was using the flyer to pour my needle out. But yeah, so then pretty much you can do anything with Sashiko, to be honest. And see here, so I do a lot of circular stitch because it's just much easier. All right. So thank you very much, everybody. And this is Sharon. Show you
Sure thing.
your
So,
work.
I got a little embroidery work here. Just some Christmas lights. And I have a little patchwork here. Made a little sun. Kind of looks like a sun, kind of doesn't, but it's all about being imperfect.
That's right. So I hope you enjoy the class. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say because there's just so many stuff you can say, and it also very basics, to be honest. So if you're new to this, don't be scared. Just go in and attack it. Like I say, perfect in the imperfect. So that's the beauty about this art. It because when you're done and then you stand back, it looks very cool and it's very fun as well. So yeah. All right. So thank you everybody to join the class, and I hope to see you again.